Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for logging on to CBSDenver.com, hanging out with Andy Lindahl. He was our guest on Auto Nation All Access Sunday night. I want to talk about Brian Dawkins getting a chance to go into the Hall of Fame. Obviously spent the majority of his career in Philadelphia, but spent the last 3 years here in Denver. And a guy who you know well, and a guy who I think Broncos fans are really excited, finally got that call from Canton.
Yeah, I'm very happy for Brian Dawkins. Now, you know, I wish John could have got in. John Lynch, of course, getting in as well, because there was another class act. But Brian Dawkins, to me, it stinks at the safety position.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of the safety position, and the Broncos have a great history at the safety position. But when you're a guy that everybody else has to have, Cam Chancellor was on that route for a while. He had the injury. We'll see how it comes back for. But everybody wanted a Cam Chancellor during the heyday of the Legion of Boom, right? Brian was one of those guys. Weapon X, it was a great nickname, Weapon X, because he could do so much. And when you go back to the heyday of his Philly days, I hope Bronco fans just don't go off of what they saw here, because they got, frankly, a better effort out of Doc than what I thought we would get here. But the neck injury thing always plagued him. He was always getting this side of his neck checked. But a warrior, a leader, such a class guy off the field. I can remember with Brian, if you set something up, and you can appreciate this as a journalist, but for fans, hopefully they'll understand how this speaks to his class. You set something up with Brian a couple days in advance through the PR, through the right channels, we'll say. Not just jump him out of the shower, not jump him at his locker, which he always gave people plenty of time. He had all the time in the world for you. He'd ask it. He'd answer any questions that you had for him. I've talked to him about Steve Atwater. Just a great, great guy. And a guy that, you can attest to this, Michael, a lot of free agents come to town. They don't jump in the community right away. And it's understandable. I'm not knocking them for it. They take it a while. They get kind of settled. Brian had a foundation going right away. He did stuff the first September he was here. He fed families the first Thanksgiving he was here. He was doing stuff at Christmas. He wasted no time. He's a great individual, and I'm very happy for him. And again, if you go back to when Philadelphia was going to the NFC Championship and ultimately faced the Patriots in what I believe was the 2005 Super Bowl, he was incredible to watch all over the field. And for his size, the things he could do, the guy, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he's prototypical for what you can't teach and what you can't find in a player.
You mentioned that safety position. Safeties have had a really hard time getting into Canton, and Dawkins said it this weekend too. He said, hey, a guy like Steve Atwater needs to be in, and I know Broncos fans feel that to the nth degree.
See, and it's funny because I've become a coworker of Steve's now. I love Steve. Steve was my guy growing up. I grew up in town. For those that don't know, I'm a native. Steve was my guy. Even over John Elway, Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp, through all the usuals out there, it was Steve. He came in my sophomore year of high school. There's just something about him and it really made me love the safety position. Steve was another guy that everybody wanted. They thought they had something in the same draft class with O.C. Oliver down in Miami. He never did the things that Steve did. Guys will tell you for his size. Ed McCaffrey tells a great story that the first time as a New York Giant he faced Steve Atwater, he said he ran some route that brought him to the middle of the field, and he thought, oh my gosh, that guy's a monster. And he wanted no part of getting hit by him. You know, you go back to the Okoye game that we all remember so well. There was a little Kansas City wide receiver, and I don't care for the Chiefs, so I take great pleasure in telling this story. His name was Rob Thomas, and he had 2 B's. You know, who goes by 2 B's? Atwater knocked one of the B's off his name that game. I mean, he didn't just hit Okoye. He was just taking people out. And again, when you bring another level to the position, you should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care about his numbers. He wasn't a sack guy. They didn't blitz him a lot. And he wasn't an interception guy. He was down there to make sure, tight end, receiver, no matter what, you had to peek inside and really decide if you wanted to test your manhood over the middle for the Broncos back in a different time in the NFL. And he needs to be in the Hall of Fame, and it angers me that he isn't.
Throw out the numbers. The bottom line is he was a game changer. He's one of the best to ever play the game.
He knocked 3 guys out in the Super Bowl.
Right.
3, including himself.
So Dawkins gets in. Maybe next year we're sitting here talking about Atwater and maybe Lynch, too. I imagine that time's coming soon.
It's going to be hard. Bronco fans, I already have to warn you. Adam Schefter tweeted out the first-time eligibles next year. Champ Bailey's on there, but the name you have to watch, you know the politics behind the positions, Michael. Ed Reed's on the list. Yep. So do they put Ed Reed in because he played in Eastern Market? That's what I'm worried about. Then Steve has to wait again. That shouldn't be the way that it is.
Shouldn't be the case. Steve Atwater needs to be in. Everybody here in Denver feels the same way. Andy, thanks so much for dropping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.